He spent 32 years in prison for a murder he always said he did not commit, and after a retrial was ordered another year and a half with the threat of more jail time hanging over his head. But now Darrell Jones is officially a free man. A jury found him not guilty last week in the 1985 shooting death of Guillermo Rodriguez in Brockton, after just a 3-day trial and a mere 2 hours of deliberation. Jones' case was first highlighted by the New England Center of Investigative Reporting and WBUR, which uncovered evidence that his conviction may have been the product of racial animus by at least one member of the all-white jury. On top of that, there was the video testimony used to help convict Jones, which the court determined was tampered with by Brockton Police. It briefly cuts to a 1950s TV show, potentially omitting key exculpatory evidence. Following those reports, at the end of 2017, a Superior Court judge vacated Jones' conviction, releasing him on bail and ordering the new trial shortly after. Since then, the altered video was ruled inadmissible and was barred from the trial, though prosecutors were allowed to read witness testimony from the first trial, despite the defense's inability to cross-examine. But of course, the jury didn't buy it. He joins me now along with his attorneys, Lisa Kavanaugh, Paul Rudof. Darrell, congratulations. It's really good to see you. Can you describe the moment when the jury announced its verdict? What did that feel like?
Probably no feeling. It was just, the last time I was standing there and, found guilty for something I didn't do, it was the shock of going through that again, just not knowing what the outcome is and, no trust in the system, but it's freedom.
Last time you were here, you told me about the most recent plea offer that was given to you. Plead to manslaughter. You say you didn't commit the crime, obviously, but plead to manslaughter for time served, no more jail time. Was there a moment, even during that brief deliberation, where you're saying, I know I'm innocent, but I could be convicted, and I could end up going to spend the rest of my life in jail yet again?
Doing that, I would have been spending the rest of my life out here in prison, mental prison, spiritual prison. I wasn't going to do it no matter what they came with.
Do you feel different sitting here talking to me right now than you did last time I saw you before this trial?
Well, I got 5 days now of freedom, actually free. So whatever the difference is, I'm just catching on to it.
Paul, 2 hours of jury deliberation, give or take a few minutes in a murder case, suggests to me the jury didn't think much of the DA's case. Why did the prosecutor in this county even bring this case again?
That is a great question. It's a question that we've been asking for a year and a half since Darrell won his new trial motion.
What's your thesis? I know you're not in his mind, but what's your...
I mean, in a way, I think that they're trying to protect the Brockton police. In a way, I think that they're trying to protect themselves, but I don't think they have ever asked the question that they should be asking, which is, are we sure this guy's guilty? And if the answer to that question is no, we're not sure, and I don't think any objective observer could be sure of that, because there's such compelling evidence of his innocence that if they can't say yes to that, they shouldn't be prosecuted.
Well, they couldn't say yes to virtually anything after the trial. I know you had a pretty strong reaction to a statement out of D.A. Cruz's mouth. I'm just going to read a portion of it. They never acknowledge a not guilty verdict, nothing. All they say in part, the Commonwealth prepared to retry Jones. A video recording of one of the identifications that was made of him as the shooter was suppressed, and the Commonwealth was not allowed to introduce prior testimony of the 1985 case officer from Brockton Police who has since passed away. Why did you have such a strong reaction to that comment, Lisa?
It was as though they had completely ignored the fact that the reason that video was suppressed was because the lead detective in the case tampered with the evidence, and a judge found that the police had deleted exculpatory evidence. So, it was as though they just completely ignored what 2 different judges had found about that evidence and pretended it was reliable.
If the Innocence Project hadn't gotten involved, where would he be right now?
In prison. I'll answer that.
In prison.
In prison.
So how do you, every time something incredibly important like this happens, whether it's the work of the Innocence Project and that sort of stuff, the first thought I have is, thank goodness that this man or that woman has their freedom. But the second thought I have is there got to be tons of other Darrell Joneses who you don't have enough time to research, you don't have enough time to defend. Is that not a fair statement?
I think it is a fair statement. I mean, I am, it's one of the things that keeps me up at night is knowing that there are people who haven't gotten my attention, haven't gotten the attention of, the Innocence Organization wherever they live. I only deal with Massachusetts, but these are happening all over the country.
There have been a handful of exonerations thanks to the Innocent Project's work in the last couple of years.
We've had 11.
11 in the last couple of years.
Darrell is the 11th.
But you used the word, which I thought was pretty powerful before we went on the air, saying it's an inefficient system, meaning one by one with hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of person hours to achieve this result. Is there a way to make it more efficient, or is it always going to be a case-by-case kind of thing?
I mean, I think there's a lot that the prosecutors have in their power that could make it more efficient. Even within a case-by-case system, they could not fight discovery requests. They could not require us to fight for years to get access.
They could not retry cases.
They could not retry cases. They could not, suppress a whole box of evidence like they did here.
You were 18 at the time?
Yeah.
50, how old are you now, 52?
52.
What are you? How angry are you? I mean, every time you're here, I'm stunned by how calm you are, and how measured you are. I would be out of my mind. I'm not recommending it, obviously. 24 hours a day. Are you angry, or are you accepting that this is what it is? What are you?
To me, that's the goal of prison: to change you, to make you worse. And so, for me being angry would be bringing prison home. And if I bring prison home, then I can't speak out for the other people that are in here. I know there's people sitting in Framingham, women. There's men. We went to the Innocence Project in Atlanta in April. We see women and men across the country getting out. So what about the guy that's in jail? I'm determined to put focus on other people sitting in prison.
If I just may, I appreciate that a lot. But is that how you think you should feel, or how you're actually able to feel? Are you able to suppress anger at someone taking maybe half your life away from you unjustly?
Well, I kind of believe in this system, believe it or not. I believe in God, so that doesn't mean I'm overly religious, but I kind of believe in this system of you reap what you sow. So the people that did this to me, maybe not on this little planet, but I believe, God will deal with that.
You were about to say something. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say that Darrell has been remarkable in channeling the anger that he does. I mean, there's anger there, but what he does is he channels it in such a positive way towards being a voice for other people about the injustices of this system.
Is there going to be litigation here? I mean, you, I assume, would argue you're falsely imprisoned. There's a now fund that's up to $1 million for that. Or will there be litigation against the state and the federal government here, or not against the federal government, but in the federal courts against these cops?
Short answer, absolutely.
I know you're looking at each other carefully.
Ways, so I get to
the
go
answer
federal
is there will be.
Oh, definitely.
So, I understand you're going to spend a decent amount of your time working with people like Lisa and working for other Darrell Joneses. Are you able to support yourself in this new world?
Well, I'm kind of lucking up because I went on Dan Ray's show, and he was doing a commercial. WBZ Radio. Shout out to Dan Ray, and he actually was doing an interview, and he had to talk about the bank, and he recommended me to the bank, and he told me if anything I needed, a letter, anything, he would help me and get a job. So I'm looking for everybody that will give me letters of recommendation and get a good job.
But until last week, he had a pending murder charge.
I couldn't get a job as long as I've been out.
Does that go away? I mean, when he goes to an employer, I mean, there are some wonderful people out there that believe in the justice system, at least the ultimate outcome. Is that going to be held? I mean, the reality was he was charged with murder, and a lot of people never accept. Okay, he got off. Maybe he got off on because I'm not saying this. A technicality. Is he going to suffer for the rest of his life because of this?
Well, I mean, I think that's what the compensation and the civil rights suit are meant to address. But he absolutely can go into any employer and when asked, have you been convicted of a felony, the answer is no.
And I want to go down here one quick last time. Does this case and the outcome, is this just about these cops and this DA, or does it make a larger statement about the system, starting with you, Paul, and then we'll go down this way?
Well, it's not unique to these particular cops or this particular DA, although I think they were uniquely terrible in the way that they handled this case. But there are many other cases that I've seen in my 20 years in which police officers gave false testimony, in which evidence was withheld from the defense, in which prosecutors made terrible prosecutorial decisions.
How about you, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that we need to learn from Darrell's case and from the other cases that my program's been involved in. If we don't learn from them, then then we've wasted resources. I think one of the things that's amazing about Darrell and his reaction to all of this is his determination to make something good from what terrible things happened to him. That
is your goal, isn't it? That's your primary goal.
That's the only way to pay him back. If you put a light on them like roaches, they'll start running. So I'm going to try to make them run.
I hope you have a lot of light in your future.
Can I get 1 second just to thank some people because it's important to me? I just want to thank first the Edmund Fund, and for their contribution to me just recently. And I also want to, thank my family and my son. He suffered. People forget that my family was incarcerated as well, and friends. And I want to thank the Jesuits community, Campion Center, say hey to them, the Nation Islam. And I also want to thank my neighbors, and I'm in an area with all whites when people talk about that. And my neighbors are beautiful people. They put cards on my door, my cross, just beautiful. And Sean's Auto Body for a reason. I have to say Sean's Auto Body. I knew nothing about cars. I knew nothing about it, and his shout out to his daughter. I knew nothing about it. And this man looked at my car and, and he just was nice to me. And being out here with this conviction, not everybody would have been that way. So I wanted to thank them.
I'm glad you did.
That was important.
Listen, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It.
Thanks for having me.
And these two, of
really
course.
Appreciate it. These two, of course.